If you're watching this video, you probably like dogs, and even if you don't like dogs, you probably don't hate dogs. You probably don't spend a lot of mental energy thinking about dogs. That is not so for the people in this subreddit, r/dog free. They not only don't like dogs, they hate dogs to a degree that I think borders on mental illness. And it's also really funny to see just how mad they get about stuff that's really not a big deal. Your shit beast doesn't love you. Dog nutters, that's right, they have their own nomenclature on this subreddit. Dog nutters always brag about how their shit beast loves them and how shit beasts are more loving than humans. How shit beasts are beings of pure love that are too good for the earth. But the truth is, the shit beast doesn't actually love them. They only care about getting food from them. A shit beast would show love and follow a literal serial killer if he gave it food. Hell, a shit beast would devour its own owner's corpse when its owner dies. So there's a lot to go over with this one. You'll find that's the case with a lot of these. For some reason, everyone on Reddit feels the need to write a full-length novel every time they make a post. Who do you talk to who brags about how their dog loves them? I have a feeling that these people probably bring up dogs a lot and then wonder why people won't stop talking about dogs and talking about how much they love dogs. It's because they brought it up. But it says they only care about getting food and that they would show love to a literal serial killer. The dog doesn't know that. The dog's not aware that their owner is a serial killer. How is that the dog's fault? And I'm not sure about the dogs eating their owner's corpse. I know that this thing that cats sometimes do, or at least that's a stereotype about cat ladies, is they get eaten by their cats when they die. But I'm not sure how common that actually is. Follow a literal serial killer, you say? Ever looked into just how many infamous killers owned mutts? All kinds of them did. Everyone from Stalin to Gary Ridgway, Mira Hindley, young Jeffrey Dahmer before he got truly demented. Hell, even the Austrian painter himself owned one. How is that the dog's fault? Like, what kind of connection is this supposed to draw? Everyone owns dogs. How is that the dog's fault? They're convinced of its unconditional love. There's no such thing between dogs and humans. Then why do dogs still love owners who hit and abuse them? I feel like that's, what do they call that? Well, they call that a condition, and yet they still love their owners even though they really shouldn't. It's like loving without condition. Your stinkhound does not love you. It is dependent on you. There is a difference. Babies are also dependent on their parents. I guess that means babies don't love their parents. The next one is a bit controversial, so hold on to your seats. The dog nutter's tendency to demonize cultures that don't worship dogs is exhausting. Seriously, where did the belief that not liking dogs somehow makes you a psychopath unworthy of trust? I think they forgot to finish that sentence. A huge avian, rabbit, or ungulate enthusiast. I see the damn dog nutters hate on these animals all the damn time, especially the poor rabbits, since the majority of them believe that they're nothing but food for their gluttonous, slobbery hellhounds, and yet that doesn't make them the sociopathic ones. As a Muslim, one of the most common arguments I often stumble across online is Muslims consider dogs impure and are not allowed to keep them inside. What a backwards and twisted culture. Not all cultures worship dogs. Deal with it. Dogs are not children/family, and they shouldn't be allowed inside due to hygiene reasons. It's common sense. I mean, well, they're not really unhygienic so long as you wash them and you're not putting them on the table or something like that. And no one's asking you to worship dogs. It's not the fact that you don't like dogs that is, upsetting to people. It's the fact that you have such insane hatred for them. And again, I am 100% confident that you are the one bringing this up. But this guy made a bit of a mistake bringing up religion on Reddit because they are not fans. Islam is right about dogs. I give it that. As they say, a broken clock is right twice a day. But then again, even Christianity is not so fond of dogs. Dogs in the Bible are seen as vicious, dirty, untrustworthy, feral animals. But yet the hardcore dog nutters tend to be Christian as well. They're talking about like wild mongrels in the Bible. They're not talking about house pets. Another thing is that these people, they know that their hatred of dogs is weird, and so they tend to do a lot of affirming of themselves and each other on this subreddit. Like the next post. I have absolutely no shame about disliking dogs. Dog nuts have tried their best to shame me. Again, that didn't happen. both online and in person. People definitely go harder when they get hid behind a phone, obviously, but I always just find it humorous. Such low IQ behavior to think that I'm somehow a terrible, terrible human being because I don't take too kindly to your farting mutt's wet red rocket being dragged around my environment. They always want you to glaze and make out with these things, assholes, to be considered a good human being. Very weird. I mean, you're the one bringing up red rockets and sucking dog, asshole. I think you're the weird one. I can't decide which is worse. The genitalia everywhere, pee and poop everywhere, noise nuisance, stink, slobber, dogs always trying to smell me. I could go on, but what's the worst? Well, my dog doesn't slobber. He's a little tiny little baby guy. I love him so much. He's a little cutie pie. But my dog doesn't slobber and he doesn't pee and poop everywhere because he's trained not to do that. These people, they act like dog training isn't a thing that can happen and every dog is just like an untamed beast. Another post trying to convince themselves that they're not weirdos for their hatred of dogs is, you are a kind and loving person, even if you dislike dogs. It's so ironic that dog nutters that leave their dog barking alone for hours at a time try to turn the table and say if you don't like it, you are a dog hater and a terrible person. The reality is they're being terrible by neglecting that mutt. I've never faulted anyone for their dislikes. They tell people, don't trust people that don't like dogs. I am an extremely trustworthy person. They make you a criminal. The felonies barely happened. That's bullshit, and I'm sick of that mentality. I watched the funniest movie this weekend. A family member said he hated dogs. It was refreshing, to say the least. It was hysterical, yet he had to say it secretly like there was something wrong in saying it. I dislike liver and I dislike dogs. It's a valid feeling I have, and anyone judging me that I'm an awful person is wrong. You see, that's the weird part, is when you say a family member said he hated dogs and it was hysterical. Someone saying they hate dogs is hysterical to you. That's why you're a weirdo. I'm an environmental public interest lawyer that works on endangered species protection cases. I love animals and wildlife. I despise dogs and people who are obsessed with their dogs. They represent everything wrong with society. Entitlement, hyper-individualism, overconsumption, greed, indulgence, isolation, arrogance, lack of personal respect, etc. Only Redditors could get all of that shit from a little guy. After everything I saw and experienced, I will never be able to trust people that do like dogs, except for probably old people that have no one else around. Shame on you for prioritizing a dog to your child. Shame on you for not being able to make friends, for living a fairy tale believing that your dog loves you after you locked it in your house. Dog is your real friend? Stop giving it food and open the door, and you'll see how quickly it will disappear from your life. How anyone can be so blind. Weak, egoistic, attention-seeking people. I wish I never deepened into dog culture so I wouldn't know how genuinely crazy it is. The reason dogs run away is because they don't know any better. Also, a lot of dogs will come back if they're trained to come back, or even if they just know where the house is, because that's where they want to be. I called out a dog nutter at a thrift store a few months ago. She ignored the no pets, service animals only sign, per usual. She had the filthy mutant in the cart. I informed her that pets aren't allowed and there's a sign on the door. She then went and told the cashier about it and came back to me and claimed that the cashier had said that there wouldn't be an issue unless someone complained. I told her, no pets, service animals only. People have allergies, you codependent weirdo. And walked away. That's always something people do in stories like this, is they'll say something stupid and then walk away like they won. I was in checkout and she came back again and tried to lecture me about how her dog is an emotional support animal with this scraggly mutant still in her cart and how she has a license for it. She then accused me of being racist due to our contrasting skin tones, and I shot back with, racist? You're the only one with a dog in the store. People have allergies and can go into anaphylactic shock. She actually left out the door after that. She slow walked, then she stopped and stared at me through the window. I looked at her, waved, and said, bye! Because what else was I supposed to do? That's another thing people like this do, is they like to say bye-bye, bye, bye-bye. I don't understand why. I guess because they actually have baby brains and they just want the argument to be over because they know they sound like an asshole, but they don't believe they can. I had never been able to call out a dog nutter that existent before. I've only been able to give dirty looks, scoff, and mumble remarks up until now. You sound like a real nice guy. I'm not usually a confrontational person, sounds like it, and was shaking from the adrenaline rush, but damn did it feel good. The euphoric high I got from this is something that cannot be replicated by the best street drugs. Insanity. This is why these people are considered weirdos. You know how the regulation of service dogs is nearly non-existent and the proofing system is essentially trust me bro? ESAs have somehow managed to top service dogs in the no regulation department. At least the service dogs, you have to have a disability and there's a cost of barrier to entry. Cost barrier? What cost barrier? You think they can't afford to see? How neurotic do you have to be in order to say, well, at least with a service dog, you have to be able to not see? How is that a reasonable thing to be upset that someone has a service dog because they're disabled in some way? This is the one that I think is probably the most psychotic. I hate how dogs aggressively bark at other animals, then in a heartbeat whine and whimper when that animal gets the best of them. I see it in videos all the time. Dogs thinking other animals are intimidated by their aggressive barking. When the other animal suddenly has the dog in its grasp and jaws. What kind of videos are you watching? The obnoxious mutt starts whining and whimpering. Well, why were you so aggressive just a moment ago, you stupid fucking mutt? I swear I hate these things so much. This is just one of the dozens of reasons to hate those things. Guess what, you fucking idiot? That's what all animals do. All animals are aggressive until they're injured. I guarantee you're aggressive until you're injured, and then you'd probably be whining and whimpering like a little baby. Well, why were you so aggressive just a minute ago? Insanity. That's why criminals love dogs so much. They have the same character and identify with them. Another person trying to link dogs with criminals. Like dogs aren't, endlessly loyal, and criminals tend not to be that. It used to be common sense. Thus the song lyrics, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog." It symbolizes someone who is untrustworthy and only looking out for themselves. Yes, I guarantee that song was, acknowledging your weirdo freak community. Dogs seriously have the worst character. They're comparable to those thugs that hit women and elderly on the back of the head or push them in front of the subway. Just fucking cowards that want to prey on those they deem weaker for nothing but the thrill of it. You heard it here first, folks. Dogs don't hunt because that's what they're trained to do or because that's what their instinct tells them to do. They do it just for the thrill. Then crying victim when they are caught. They behave exactly like bullies do. Right down to the bone. It's no wonder dog nutters worship them. I'm not surprised you're bullied. You should be bullied more. I was about to mention this. I remember bullies in school having this exact behavior. The exact behavior in question. I actually dealt with bullies. They thought that since I was just a girl, well, they thought wrong. They are all cowards. Did they think wrong? Dogs are actually not good for mental health. Hey y'all! Former dog owner here who rehomed their dog and is now dog free. Having a dog was very detrimental to my mental health, and rehoming him helped me return to sanity. One thing I heard all the time was how dogs are good for mental health. I did not find this to be true whatsoever. My mental health has improved since rehoming my dog. I found a study that validated my experience. The study was a review of 21 other scientific journal articles that confirms that dog ownership is bad for mental health. The effects are real. They are studied. They are documented. It leads to anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. In 12 of the behavioral studies reviewed, there was an association between... in 12? I thought there were 21 journals. In 12 of the behavioral studies reviewed, there was an association between dog behavioral problems and owner burden or mental health. Yeah, no shit, if the dog has behavioral issues, it's going to be stressful for the owner. I thought I would share this here, because the dog industry is totally duping people into believing that dogs are good for mental health. Yeah, Big Dog is trying to make people think that dogs are good for mental health. You know how I can tell humans aren't doing well mentally? Their obsession with dogs. It's astonishing how many people admit they're only staying alive because of their dogs, and yet psychology insists dogs are good for mental health. I strongly disagree. It's not the dogs that prove our mental wellness, or are even good for it. It's that our emotional dependency on dogs that exposes how unwell we really are. Well, aside from the great grammar, I do have some problems with this sentence. Like, how bitter of a person do you have to be to have the idea in your head of a person who is so over living, they're like, I just hate being alive, and then they come home and they see their glowing dog who's just so happy to see them, and they think, well, maybe there are some things worth living for, and you're just like, ew. How could you possibly think that, you weirdo? It really is very funny. Dog owners seem to do whatever they please and think they'll get away with it because everyone will supposedly love their doggo. Don't put that in quotes like that's not something you said. Well, I won't be loving that, Fleabag. In fact, every time I swim in a public space where it shouldn't be, or even on my parents' property, I literally stare at the owner and I look them dead in the eyes. That smile leaves their face so quickly and they start getting their mutt out of there with them. It's so satisfying to watch. Happened to me twice today. The first being at a Trader Joe's when this girl thought she was being all cute when she brought her poodle in with her. She was all giggly about it, and I can tell she did all that to seek validation. So when she sees me and I'm looking at her dead in the eyes with the face of disgust towards her in her mutt, her smile dropped and she was out of the store within a minute. That was so satisfying to see. The second encounter was later on my driveway. I noticed this woman walking her bully breed and letting her dog go on every single other house's lawn without stopping it. I was sitting outside on the porch when she walked by. I noticed her from a distance, but started staring at her when she and her dog were in front of my house. It's funny because I wasn't even smiling one bit, and I think she took it as a sign that I wasn't going to tolerate her mutt doing any nonsense on my lawn. When her dog made attempts to walk up my lawn, she actually did her best to pull it back and keep walking for once. No, I don't think she was worried about her dog. Because most people aren't so focused on dogs that they see a weirdo staring at them and they think it must be because of my dog. They probably think, that's a weirdo staring at me, I'm gonna get out of here. I made dagger eyes at a shit bowl inside a grocery store and managed to intimidate it. It was so scared that it was walking low to the ground. That is just pure fantasy. A dog wouldn't be intimidated by you looking at it. Also, it was walking low to the ground. Dogs are short. That's where they always are. But that's not to say that there's no one with any common sense on this subreddit. They probably don't even connect it to the dog. They probably just think you're a weirdo. That's what I'm saying. Well, that was extremely frustrating. Here's a couple more pictures of my dog. He's a little guy, such a cutie pie. I love him so much. He's old, but he's as feisty as he's ever been. Not in these pictures. In these pictures, he's asleep.